For the election. Okay. Good morning, good morning. It's 9 o'clock, so I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the November 6th, 2023 board meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors. Welcome to everyone. I would ask you to please mute your cell phones. The devotion for November is the responsibility of District 3. Two, excuse me.
Good morning, everyone. This morning devotion, I have Union Baptist Church, Pastor Larry Hawkins. Could you please come up, Pastor Hawkins?
Good morning. Thank you, Supervisor Morris, for the opportunity, to the board, and to those who are with me. A devotional thought today comes from Matthew 6:33, where Jesus says, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added." I want to think for just a few minutes about the key to life. In antecedent verses, Christ talks about the things that seemingly consume us: food, fashion, fitness, finance, and future. And very little attention is paid to developing our faith. In this particular passage, it talks about pursuing, seeking, looking for, making an effort. Most men want God after they have goal. We need to get God before we get the goal. And it's a passionate pursuit. Seek ye first. It's pursuing the kingdom of God, looking for God, making a conscious effort to have Him in your life. No matter what we do, at the end of the day, only that which we do for Christ will last and be counted. And then there's a promise in the text as I close. He said, if you seek the kingdom first, all these things, food, fashion, fitness, finance, and your future, shall be added. Life tastes better with God. Life goes better with God. Life is better with God. And we are challenged in our daily walk as we are seeking these other things to develop a faith that will seal our future and give us an opportunity to spend eternity with God. Let us pray. God, we thank you now for this opportunity and for this privilege of being in this place at this time. We pray, God, that we all would seek after you and then allow you to add the things that make life worth living. But at the end of the day, God, we pray that all we shall have done when our life is over will be pleasing in your sight, and we shall then be granted eternity with you. This is our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Hawkins.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next on the agenda is a delight to see. It is a presentation of the 2023 Best of the South Preserving Southern Architect Award of Excellence, which has been given to the LaPointe Krebs House and Museum. Who is here to present that?
We just thank you guys for your support and your continued support for the LaPointe Krebs Foundation and the House Museum. And we're going to present you with this award. Do I need to hand it to you?
Sure. Shall I read it? I'll read it.
Oh, sure.
The Southeast chapter of the Society of Architectural Historians, presenting the Best of the South, Preserving Southern Architecture Award of Excellence, presented to the owner, which is us, Jackson County, Mississippi, from the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. The operator is Dwayne Coates, the LaPointe Krebs Foundation, architect Larry Albert and Robinson. The conservator is George T. Forey. General contractor is J.O. Collins, the contractor, in recognition of the LaPointe Krebs House. And this is presented September 29th, 2023. You people are doing a fabulous job out there. The whole area is beautiful and getting better every day, and we're really proud of what you're doing. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to item number 5, amendments to the agenda. Mr. Cumbest,
Don't have any.
Mr. Morris.
I don't have anything.
I have none. Mr. Ross.
None.
Mr. Bosarch.
None.
Mr. Eldridge.
None.
Mr. Fulton.
I have one item I'd like to add to the consent agenda. It's an access authorization agreement with EPA to do some groundwater testing near our port facility off Industrial Road.
Okay, that's to the consent. Mr. Calmer.
Yes, sir. Mr. Taylor, I would like to amend item 9 under Board Attorney. There's a resolution that's stated. I would like to amend to remove that resolution. And I would also like to amend to add a resolution in its place. The resolution concerns the settlement between Singing River Hospital and KPMG. What I'm adding is a resolution that approves the settlement agreement rather than the term sheet. So remove what is there and replace it with and amend to replace it with another resolution.
Okay, and you have given that to us, have you not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I bypassed Mr. Joe O'Neill. My apologies, sir. You have any?
I would like to move 7L to consent to. And I would like to pass out another resolution for a road name change and place it under consent agenda.
Okay, y'all got that? Okay, are there any other amendments to the agenda? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to remove item E under consent, under grants.
Remove item D under grants. D is in dog? E is in
Echo.
echo. Okay, got it, thanks. Any others? Okay, if not, we will need a motion to approve the amendments to the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cumbest,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We will now move to item number 6, general public comments. We have one person who signed up, Ms. Barbara Jones, and I understand there are other people that probably would like to have a public comment. So, but go ahead, Ms. Jones.
Good morning.
Morning.
Couple of questions, okay? I want to ask about the settlement with the hospital, KPMG. There's word out there that there's been a settlement and that that's what's on the agenda today for y'all to be discussing. Are you allowed, or can you fill us in on it, how much the settlement was and where it goes from there?
Hopefully we can accommodate you. I will throw that question to Mr. Calmer.
I asked Billy Geis, Mr. Geis, who was an attorney in that litigation, to come to the board and explain to this board that Jackson County was not a party to that lawsuit. We have been requested to approve the settlement nevertheless by KPMG in an abundance of precaution to have that agreement in our minutes. But I did ask Mr. Geis to come if he would explain to the board and to the public. So Mr. Taylor, I'll leave that up to you when Mr. Geis explains that to everyone.
Please.
Good morning.
Let me say something. Mr. Geis actually was the lead attorney on action that we had against KPMG and did a fabulous job. And because of that, the hospital system requested his help in their action against KPMG. So,
Thank you. This board was kind enough to allow me to serve as local counsel with that action, along with the Stone Pigman firm out of New Orleans, a firm with whom I have worked for many years. We have reached a settlement. The settlement came after a 17-hour mediation late into the night. The amount of the settlement is $22 million. The numbers were reached after considerable consideration, and I understand will be approved by the Senior of our Hospital Board. Tentatively, they have been approved, but the final settlement agreement needs to be approved. Given the issues in the case, what we anticipated to be the length of the litigation, it had been pending for 9 years, I think, 8, 9 years, and with no end in sight. There were numerous discovery issues to be accomplished, many of which the hospital did not have the staff or the ability to perform. As a result, we had to use outside vendors. We produced during the course of the litigation, and this is something I did not know what it meant. I had to learn. 4 terabytes of documents. I understand that's somewhere in the area of 5 million documents. I don't know who was going to read 5 million documents. It certainly wasn't going to be me. But we did get the sense of it. There were substantial defenses in the matter that went into our consideration with respect to what we could anticipate the verdict would be, as well as the difficulty of proving causation of the damages, given a number of circumstances. We, the settlement team, recommended this to the hospital, and the hospital was there to accept it. This board is not asked to approve the settlement per se, but to bless the settlement agreement, which we have tendered to the board's attorney. This is, as indicated, is being done out of abundance of caution by KPMG. If you will recall, KPMG was burned a bit by the minutes rule, and they are acting out of an abundance of caution. I think this is to the benefit of the hospital. The hospital has indicated to me it would be well for them to receive this. It ends this litigation, which may impact other things that this board may want to do with respect to the hospital. It will be have finality. It comes at a time when I think the money would do a lot of good. For that reason, I ask this board to approve the settlement.
And Mr. Taylor, just so the board will know, the resolution that I prepared at the request of Mr. Geis is a resolution acknowledging receipt of and approving the settlement agreement to the extent applicable and necessary, since we're not a party to that litigation. But I think KPMG requested this board, in an abundance of precaution, approve the settlement. So that's the language of the resolution that will be before the board on the agenda.
Okay. Now, it's I guess now it's common knowledge in the legal circles that, and not outside of the legal circles, if it ain't on the minutes, it didn't happen.
I think that's a really good explanation, and for that reason, KPMG is being extra cautious.
Good. Ms. Jones, do you have any specific question?
Since you're their attorney, and I realize they don't have the authority to do this, they should put some of that money back into the retirement for those of us who lost 25 and 35% to try to make us whole. I realize you said the hospital could use that money, but I'm saying those of us who dedicated our lives and retired from there, who treated all the people in Jackson County, then we should benefit from that. When they got their settlement, they couldn't do it because of law. So I feel like we should be given something from that.
That, I do not represent the hospital generally and for that purpose. And I don't mean to dance around the issue, but I have to be correct in what I say. That is a decision for their board of trustees and something that their attorney has to opine about as to the legality of that. The good news is that there is $22 million to discuss. And that's the purpose of this meeting today, is so we can have $22 million. This is the wrong body in which to bring that issue forward.
Right.
The right body would be their board of trustees.
Right. They haven't made us aware of it, and I feel like, honestly, for y'all to approve it, not knowing where it's going, is a disservice to us. I feel like the Board of Trustees and their attorney, we should have an opportunity to talk to them, and I'll call Lauren St. Pay and discuss it with him. But I would hope y'all would put it on hold about approving it.
We're acknowledging it, we're not approving it.
Well, letting it go forward, I understand, but the resolution. Okay, my other question, thank you, is over about a year ago, whatever, you know, we were told how hard financial shape the hospital was in. So it went up for public bid to sell it. That has fallen through the negotiations with Franciscan missionaries. I've got a question, what happened in the negotiations? And the other question I have is, if we were hurting so badly back then, how can we make it now?
I don't know that we were hurting so badly back then. I think the hospital system wanted to have more capital to invest in its future. And roughly 2 years ago, the system came to us and said, we would like for y'all to dip into your pockets and see if you can get us another, rounded numbers, $15, $20 million that we can invest in capital, improve what we have, and do a better job. We said, and state law was in effect at that moment, that said we have to have a referendum. So the county did have a referendum and asked the citizens, do you favor us giving more money, or giving money at the time? For a long time, we've given no money to the hospital system. It has sustained itself. We asked the citizens, should we do that? The citizens came back with a pretty resounding no that said, if you do that, you're probably going to have to raise our taxes, and we don't want that. And the hospital system and its request said, we wish you would give us some more capital, or give us some capital improvement, and if you can't, consider selling us to a like-minded system that could help us out. So we elected to do that. We hired some excellent consultants and lawyers to help us do that, because we don't know a whole lot about owning a hospital or operating a hospital, much less selling it. So we generated a RFP, request for proposal. We had the consultants go out into the arena and solicit interest in this system, and we issued that RFP, I think it was November of last year. Unfortunately, we only got 2 responses, and that probably reflects the overall condition of the hospital arena at that point in time. FMOL, we determined, was the best and highest, and that was not really an offer. That was, here's what we want to talk about. We elected them to be best and highest, and then that led us to go into negotiations with them. Some people think that first best and highest was an offer that we could accept. It was not that. It earned them the position of negotiating with us. And we went into negotiations, and several things happened that we felt were not in the best interest of the county or the hospital system. And therefore, we gave a counter offer to FMOL, and that kind of was not accepted. And mutually, we agreed that it was not in the best interest of either party to continue. So and that's why we can talk about it now, we kind of killed the RFP, and here we are where we were a couple of years ago. Josh, can you help me with some of the reasons that we didn't really like in the negotiations, and therefore said we're not gonna do it?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, Mr. Taylor just covered a pretty good history of what went on, but if you go back to when we entered into the sale, we always said, hey, this isn't some fire sale. We still have a very valuable asset, a good health system, a lot of good employees out there. We get good health care here in the county, but this is an opportunity, hey, how do we become better? I mean, it was never, you know, hey, let's just sell the hospital, no strings attached. You know, we wanted the employees taken care of. We didn't want them to lose their vested time. We wanted a certain amount of capital reinvested back into the system each year. We wanted our emergency departments kept open. We wanted behavioral health to continue, right? Behavioral health is, you know, when you're dealing with people with their mental challenges, if they go and that's a losing service line. If they go shut it down, even if you pay the county for the system, for the and then we're having to pay to contract somebody to take them out, you're turning around and giving the money right back along with the insurance for county employee. I mean, there's just tons of different terms in the RFP. And most of the discussions, 99, was about those kind of things. And if you just look at how healthcare has faced its challenges in the last couple of years, part of the reason we're deciding, hey, there's a lot of risk there for the county, it's time to see if somebody else is willing to, you know, take on these risks. I think I've heard somewhere around 80% of nonprofits have lost money in 2022, which you're basing a lot of your sale information on. There was just, we couldn't get all the terms to agree. I mean, sometimes the people wanting to purchase us wanted to continue those things, but they weren't going to give us any guarantees. And, you know, if that's the case, you know, negotiations just broke down, and we said, for right now, it's best for the citizens and for the hospital to continue to own the healthcare system. So that's the major pieces of it. And to step back to your question you had for Mr. Geis real quick, I wanted to make sure so something was clear. If you look back at the litigation began over the numbers, right? That's why you're suing the audit firm. Well, the county settled, the hospital's now settling, but there is also, I believe, I'm aware of a third lawsuit. That's directly between the pensioners and
Yeah,
KP.
that's been settled.
Well, okay, well, I don't know about, but that money does go.
Yeah, we get that directly. We do.
Directly,
But it
okay.
isn't near what y'all got.
Okay, yeah, well,
It was 15 million from Transamerica and KPMG, and 680 people were affected.
I got you.
Okay? And you did not get what you had lost.
right. Okay,
They
well, I
went
don't
on the
know
times
anything
that
about
you
that
had
lawsuit.
worked, and what you would work, and what you would, they planned for the future. It doesn't begin to cover
Anything that y'all.
that we lost. No, but
Okay.
I'm grateful to have it.
Right.
Okay? I just feel like when there's, 42 million that's come from the super here, 22 over there, somewhere, something could be put in our retirement. I realize y'all couldn't do it legally. I came to a meeting. I certainly think the hospital needs to take that 22 million and try to see that, I know you're not their lawyer, see that we get some compensation. And so I'm going to find out where I go from here and who I need to talk to. And, okay, since negotiations are over with selling the hospital, how financially stable is the hospital?
Well, so in 22, you know, it was basically even cash increase, you're kind of breaking even, and there's a difference between surviving and thriving, right? So the hospital's been surviving, you know, they face the same challenges as the other 80% of the nonprofit systems I referred earlier. But they, obviously a $22 million settlement, you know, helps them continue to survive and make the payments promised in the settlement. Now, I want to lay a major outlier out there that also is just a big unknown, is the Governor Reeves's plan that's been sent to CMS. If that's approved, then that's another $40 million a year to Singing River Hospital. So, I mean, that's major right there. I mean, that's, from my understanding, it's recurring money that comes to the hospital every year. If you go back to the original time when the hospital was saying, hey, we need more money to invest, I think the number was around $20 million a year, they were saying. So if they got $40 million a year, then that puts Singing River in a very good spot, and changes the playing field on everything.
Well, we just got to say a prayer that passes.
I agree with you, yes, ma'am.
You know, talking about, I know when the consultants came in and they talked about the Medicare reimbursement,
That's what that
and
does
that
to-
had us in a hole.
Mhm.
And I don't know it all, but Governor Tate Reeves is not far extending, isn't it, Medicare?
He's not, he's against Medicaid expansion, but this is a new plan that, I mean, I don't think it's called Medicaid expansion, but it's a way for hospitals to improve what they receive on Medicaid.
Okay. Well, thank you for your answers and giving me a chance to speak.
Well, we want to communicate openly. If you have anything else, come back or let us know, and we'll thrash it out in public.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Any other questions?
sure.
Is there any other questions of me?
I think not, no, sir. We-
I will say one thing. I know the pensioners have settled. This was the first time I've heard their number. This board, through its generosity in allowing me to provide evidence that we had developed in our lawsuit and experts that we had cultivated in our lawsuit, led to the pensioner settlement also.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I may not have supposed to told the amount, and that be dropped out of the minutes. I don't want to not get it.
You are a wonderful public commenter. Thank you.
That was only a guess on the amount, right?
Okay, we're still in public comments. I am aware there are some individuals here that would like to comment about the RV park issue. I will tell you, we, the board, that has been appealed. It's going to be heard by this board the first meeting in December next month. We have nothing that we've looked at yet. We do not have the report transcript from the Planning Commission meeting, and I would beg you, I'm not going to say you can't talk, but I don't want us to sit here for an hour to listen to the reasons you don't want to have the RV park in Gulf Park Estates when we have no information at all. So come up, identify yourself, and please be very, very brief. We totally understand that you don't want it, and we know that. So you don't have to convince us of that. So come up one at a time and identify yourself and say what you would like to say. Yeah, name and address, please. Anyone else on the board have any comment they'd like to make?
Yeah, and at the date of that hearing, everyone will have an opportunity to talk both sides, and that will last however long it lasts.
Right, and that's
So
the time.
that will be a hearing when it actually happens. Today is a preliminary thing, basically where we set the date.
So I'm the one who filed the appeal, and I'm just, I would say, a general spokesman for the people of Gulf Park Estates. I've met with many of the people, you guys on the board, and I do respect your time and listening to concerns. What we're saying is, it's not that we don't want an RV park. We have nothing against people who are in RV parks. We really want to save our community. We want to preserve our community, and basically what we're trying to convey as a group of people is that the people of Gulf Park Estates, the people of St. Andrews, and the people of Ocean Springs, we have a different vision for the community, a vision that uplifts the community, instead of a vision that makes the community fractured. It makes the community uncertain, and it makes the community disaster prone. So we respectfully ask everybody on this board to listen to the voice of people. There's a lot of documentation that has to be analyzed, and just to weigh what is in the best interest of the Jackson County, what is in the best interest of the developers, but finally and fundamentally, what is in the best interest of the people themselves. So thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning. I thank you for my time to speak. Yes, I'm going to be rather brief. A lot of the people that came before the Planning Commission were very disappointed with the meeting. The main thing is we feel like the actual neighborhood is going to be drastically changed by an RV park. It was never designed for an RV park. Yeah, I know that this is early on it, but the actual roads under the Planning Commission have not been, to change it from a PUD to an RV park is a substantial difference, and to go through that many neighborhoods, school zones, is not the best interest of it. So, yeah, with me being a property investor, I have 5 houses that will be affected directly, so I am very concerned.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else? No other public comments?
I just got a real quick comment, Mr. Taylor. I want to introduce our new HR director, started last week, Melissa DeFada. I think she has about 20-plus year in employment law experience, and just wanted to welcome her and let the board introduce her to the board.
Morning. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Okay, any other public comments? If not, we'll move on. Where is my agenda? Okay, we'll move to item number 7, the consent agenda. We need a motion, have an order to approve the consent agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Morris. I will second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Moving to page 5, item 8, consent agenda number 2. Record will note that Mr. Ross is excusing himself from the meeting. Second, for an order to approve consent agenda number 2.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Cumbus,
I'll second with a question.
seconded by Mr. Bossarge, and
Hey, Joe. So Fred Fayard LLC, have they ever done any bridge work for us?
No, they hadn't done bridge work. Well, they did do the bridge, I think, on Magnolia Street and Moss Point. They still out the actual bridge work, they do the dirt work.
Okay, all right. So this is not gonna be a lingering project then, right? All right, we're gonna get in, get out, be done. Okay. All right, just making sure.
projects, we were in and out. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Mr. Ross is returning to the meeting. And we will move to item number 9, department heads. The first one is the board attorney, Mr. Calmer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Taylor. As I mentioned earlier, we amended the agenda under board attorney. The resolution that I'm asking the board to approve, as was requested by Mr. Geis, acknowledges receipt of and approves the settlement to the extent applicable. And this is a settlement between Singing River Health System and KPMG. The actual settlement agreement is attached to the resolution. If anybody wants to review that, it'll be attached and placed into the minutes.
So moved. Got a motion by Mr. Cumbus, need a second, seconded by Mr. Morris. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Finance, Ms. Wells.
Good morning. The first item I have is the order approving the claims docket.
So moved.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Cumbus, is that right? Close enough. Close enough?
Close enough.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Bossard, seconded by Mr. Cumbus. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carries.
Okay, second item I have is the resolution authorizing the interfund loans for fiscal year September 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Ross. I will second it. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Okay, and the last item I have is the resolution authorizing the operating transfers for fiscal year September 30th, 2024.
Motion by Mr. Morris. Need a second. Seconded by Mr. Bossarge. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to item number 10, presentations. Lighthouse Academy for Dyslexia, and request for funding. Someone here from Lighthouse Academy? Good morning.
Thank you for your time this morning. We are hoping to get a PowerPoint up and moved over here. Nicole went down the hall with it, but I can go ahead and begin without it because I know your time is important. So I'm with Lighthouse Academy for Dyslexia in Ocean Springs, and we are the only special purpose school for students with dyslexia in a 73-mile radius. So you house the only school in your county for a considerable driving distance. So I want to talk to you today. We opened up our new school, a brand new building behind Keesler Federal Credit Union off of Highway 90, and we currently have 81 students at our school. You may be wondering why dyslexia is a special purpose school or why we even need it in our area. And dyslexics are actually, that's a neurobiological disorder. It's not reversing letters, as most people would think. And it's a brain difference that affects approximately 1 in 5 students. So these students have difficulty manipulating language and specifically have difficulty in reading, writing, and spelling. It's unexpected, meaning that these kids have every ability to contribute to our society that you could possibly imagine. People that you might be familiar with that are incredibly successful on the coast that have dyslexia are Jerry St. Pay, who's very open about his dyslexia with his grandchildren, and Butch Oslet, who just recently realized that that is something that he struggled with for a long time too. Now, the reason these men are so successful is because this one central idea of decoding and difficulties with that is the only deficit they have. Where they really shine is in conceptual thinking and big picture ideas and problem solving and critical thinking. But you also might be surprised to know that our prison systems are filled by about 50% of dyslexic learners. So 80% of the illiteracy rates in our prison are people that have every capacity to learn and be productive citizens. Yet the school systems that we have don't really address the learning style of these students. Currently, you have people moving from out of state to relocate to your county to attend our school. And I think that's a huge boost for Jackson County. I'm here today to tell you that it's difficult for us to operate the school. It costs us approximately $18,000 per child to educate them. These parents, if they've come from the public school system, are eligible for a $5,000 scholarship approximately. It varies every year according to the legislature. and the parents can get about $5,000 back on their tuition. Lighthouse Academy sets our tuition at about $11,000 per student, but we only collect around $9,000 by the time we fill in 20% of our population that can't afford nearly anything to come, which we feel like that is the biggest impact on our society, because these are the kids that are bound for juvenile delinquency, behavior disorders, and cost our counties and schools tons of money as they move through the pipeline and go unaddressed. That leaves us at approximately, do you have it, Nicole? Thank you. That leaves us with approximately a $9,000 deficit per child. This year we gave away $80,000 in tuition assistance for students that could not afford even the minimum tuition. What we have is unique in Jackson County because of the fact that these schools cost parents anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 to attend from other states. And that's why people are moving here to Jackson County in order to attend our school. So we'll see where we wound up in the presentation, trying to talk off the cuff once we get it. That's okay.
While they're doing that, I just briefly want to say my name is Laura Lacoste. I'm from Ocean Springs, and I have a son who's dyslexic. He actually was in one of the first classes to go through the school. Tracy Barrientos was his 6th grade teacher. We had been to several schools. We tried public schools, we tried private schools, and we never really could find anything that could quite help him. He's a very intelligent child. And that's a little bit of the conundrum about it, because he was always very bright and smart, and then when he started school it was so odd and surprising that he could not read or remember letters. But after 3 years in that program, he is now in Ocean Springs. He's making A's and B's. I don't have to help him. I had to help him like he was studying for medical school for spelling tests when he was in elementary school. But what they're doing is neurological, like she said, and they've had studies where they study the brains of these children as they go through this 3-year program, and their learning is, they'll never be 100% cured, but they are so fully remediated. I mean, there's a spectrum, but for the most part, many of his teachers now tell me they would have never even guessed that he was dyslexic because he reads so well. It just takes a lot of one-on-one and a lot of multisensory. The approach doesn't work in a classroom of 30 kids or 20 kids. It really, at most, needs to be 1-to-6 ratio, and that's another reason why it costs so much, because we can't have hundreds of kids supporting the cost of the building and the cost of the teachers. And you know, I looked into, before that was an option, like Tracy said, I looked in Atlanta because I have family there, and the cheapest tuition I found there was $50,000. So what these teachers are doing, Tracy is the executive director. She teaches dyslexia therapy. She fundraises. I go with her to the Capitol. We're always trying to educate. So we need help so we can help these kids, and so they can keep on going and graduate and be who they're supposed to be.
I wanted to kind of show you the numbers if you'll look over here at Jackson County, because you may be wondering, what does this mean for us? You have approximately 10,000 students, just under 10,000 students when I looked at the statistics last year enrolled in your school. 1 in 5 children are dyslexic, according to the Yale Center for Creativity, Dyslexia and Creativity. That would put you at almost 2,000 dyslexic students in your county. Even if you say, I don't believe that the statistic is that high, if you go all the way down to 5%, you're looking at about 500 students in your county. Now, this is significant because less than 4% of students are ever diagnosed with dyslexia. So you can understand, yet we know that about 80% of these wind up in our juvenile delinquency centers. So that's pretty significant when you're looking at what do we do and how do we make a difference for our state and for our communities. They also affect underemployment, unemployment, and social welfare systems. They overwhelm your social welfare systems because of the fact that we deal with medical illiteracy, and these people have difficulty getting jobs. Now, because they're smart and because they have abilities, and because they naturally, most of them are business people, they figure out a way to be successful, whether it's distribution lines or it's in ways that you don't want them distributing, or it's running other business operations that aren't the kind of business operations that our society benefits from. So basically, I know you guys are in a hurry today. Just kind of wanted to go through a few of those things. Another very brilliant dyslexic person that I want to leave you with this thought is, oh my gosh, Charles Branson. Yeah, I'm kind of thrown not having my presentation this morning. I apologize. And Charles Branson just published yesterday or last week on LinkedIn. He was talking about the fact that the strengths that dyslexics have are an absolute essential as we move into the area of artificial intelligence and into this new century that's leaped forward. We need the thinking skills that we cannot teach other people that this group possesses. And we just look for your support. We call Jackson County our home, and we're hoping that you guys will consider us one of yours. And be able to be proud of what we're doing here and share that with others in supporting us as well. Thank you for your time. Oh, yeah. Do you have any questions? I'm happy to. Yes, please.
You had a visual there that talked about each county.
Yes.
And at the top of each was enrolled, and then 5, 10, 15, 20%. What does that mean? What does the enrolled mean?
That's how many students approximately across the state in these 6 southern counties were currently in the K through, I think this was K through 6 was the number I got you there. When you stop to consider K through 12, when you start getting into junior high and high school, we're at about 98,000 dyslexics in our state if you do that 1 in 5 statistic.
Do y'all work with the state educational system or the local school districts?
So we are in the process of building partnerships with state and local school districts because we definitely see that as part of the solution. We cannot do it without the public schools. So yes, I'm currently talking with state superintendent, with the Mississippi Department of Education, and farming partnerships with our state superintendents and hoping to build on those relationships. We are new. This is only our 4th year of operation, and until this year, we didn't even own our own property. We rented in a small wing of the Tacony building out of Ocean Springs. And so we've grown from 32 students to 81 students in just 3 years. And so we've been a little overwhelmed with the demand. It's very difficult to find dyslexia therapists. We have less than 150 registered with the Department of Education in the entire state. So we have to operate with dyslexia therapists in order for our students and their families to receive the Mississippi Dyslexia Scholarship, which helps make this school affordable. And so we have been focusing up to now our attention on those things, but absolutely in our agenda is to work with our school systems in order to help train their teachers and to help them understand how they can best benefit these students within the public school systems. Now, our school's unique because it is immersive therapy, meaning some of these students, if you can think of dyslexia on a spectrum, it can be anything from mild to severe. Your more severe students have more difficulty being remediated in the public school system. They need someone who can help them all day long through all their subjects. So that is what we do best. But I definitely could see us getting to a point where our public schools were able to serve our mild and moderate students within their systems. But we see them as a part of the solution, and we see ourselves as supporters of that goal.
So does your tuition come from parents paying and fundraising efforts? That's where it currently comes from now?
It does. It comes from fundraising efforts. A portion of it comes from our parents, and we do get some state funding. We do, but it's nowhere near enough to manage our budget because of the fact that this is so intensive, and it is a 1-to-6 ratio as required by national organizations that certify us.
So what's your ask of us? What are you looking for? How much money are you looking for?
Yeah, so my ask of you.
It's all about the money.
Yeah, it is all about the money. Unfortunately, I don't love that about my life, but that is the reality. So what I'm asking of you is whatever you can do. So whether that is a couple of thousand to 10,000, whatever you guys could do to help us on a yearly basis keep this school in Jackson County and operate it would be a huge help.
Process we have to go through, so basically
Right.
you pretty much have to make a request of us.
I have to make a request to you?
And then we send the request to the legislature for approval.
Okay. Well, we would love 10,000 a year. That would allow us to supplement multiple
Our legal
families and
department can help you out
educators.
with that.
Yeah, let me ask you,
Yeah.
do you get any money from any school districts or from any other counties?
We do not currently get other money from other school districts or other counties. We have applied for Title I funding, which is federal funding that flows through other school districts. We have not yet been able to navigate that red tape process. But we are currently working with the Ocean Springs School District, who's fully supportive of us in that effort, and they're hoping to be able to pursue those Title I dollars from the other students that come to us from other districts. So that is in the works.
Randy?
I'll be glad to look into it for the board, but I think one thing that this board and all public boards are kind of bound by is you can only give money away when you're authorized to do it. Otherwise, it's an illegal donation and they could be personally liable.
Absolutely.
I think we probably would have to go through and amend the local and private to give authority for this board to give any money away.
They did help them last year, Jimmy, with some advertising county resources for an event that they had.
Right.
We can still do that, but
You can still
I think
do that.
what they're looking for is long-term sustaining type funding, which I think would require local and private legislation to get that done.
Right. Can I ask if this ask is going to be made to other counties as well that send students to the school?
We haven't thought of that since we reside in your county, but that's an absolutely reasonable ask, and I have no problem
Add it to the
going to those
overall
other
list
counties.
Of approved, like the Boys and Girls Clubs are, or like the United Way is, then that way they're not just for Jackson County, they would be.
Yeah, that
across the
seems
state.
entirely reasonable. We are, we're just kind of learning our way. We like to say we are good at dyslexia therapy. We are learning everything else. So this is our first ask before a county board. So, yeah.
There's a new, they're still figuring out, they're still navigating.
We are really navigating, yes. And this is not an easy process to figure out. So, thank you.
As a nonprofit.
We are. We are. We are set up as a 501c3. And what I didn't get to show you, because the presentation that downloaded was an older presentation, is that we actually have applied for, and as far as I know, we are the only school that has done this. There's a national database called Candid, and it is for all nonprofits across the United States, and we have earned their gold seal of transparency, where we've made our 990s public record, and we've answered a series of questions where they feel comfortable awarding us with the gold seal of approver. We will hopefully earn that platinum seal, which is the highest level that you can earn this year. We're just waiting on our voluntary audit to take place. So you should feel good about partnering with us, because we believe in being transparent, and we believe that the community should know that we work hard and we take using public dollars very seriously.
Have you had any interaction with our youth court system as far as some of the children that might meet that spectrum?
So that is, yeah, you are talking to my heart right now. Okay. So I've had an opportunity to visit some with Angel, the prosecutor out of, I think she's here, right? Yeah, Paxacola. Yeah, and we have discussed how this definitely fits into that overall arching societal problem that we have, and I'm hoping to work with her in the future. We are, like I said, if y'all could see how many hats we wear. I'm the executive director. I had to pass on my therapy group this morning so I could be here in front of you. So I have a substitute. I actually teach students every day because we are so shorthanded at the school. And most of us that are running that school wear 3 and 4 hats in terms of what we're doing. So as soon as we can get enough therapists in place, that'll definitely be on our...
Judge Thorne would probably be the... Okay, good. Well,
And Supervisor, I'm Haley Martin. I'm on their board. Also do some advocacy, a lot of advocacy for them at the Capitol. And our goal is to target those students. And the school's been here. They just bought their own building. Like I said, they're full now. She said they now have 80 students. If they could take more, they would take more. And we're trying to meet the goal of the gap where the public schools just can't accommodate and target those students. And so that's one of the reasons we're here today, just trying to get the resources so that we can get the extra classrooms one day. But right now, like she said, we're kind of in survival mode, trying to get there.
And speaking to what, we are blessed with a new staff member that we got out of Louisiana that actually conducted the prison studies in Louisiana and very much wants to do them here in Mississippi. And that is on our list of things to do. It's just a very long list.
Yeah, it's funny that you would ask all those questions because we just spent Friday in a strategic planning session with the board identifying our next 3 goals and how to meet the need for South Mississippi.
I don't have a problem with 10,000 if they meet all the requirements and we can get it through the legislature. Because if it'll help our youth court, you know, revolving door out there, I think it'd be worthwhile investment.
I'm good with it too.
Yeah.
I think it'll worth our
Yeah, I'm good with it. I do have a question though, and so 4% get diagnosed.
Less than 4.
How do you derive the 20% number?
That is such a great question. I'm glad you asked. So there is something called the Connecticut Longitudinal Study that was begun in 83 with Dr. Sally Shaywitz out of the Yale Center for Dyslexia and Creativity. And that year she sampled a group of students that perfectly modeled and represented all the populations for kindergarten that year. She's been following them ever since. And so it's one of the largest magnitude studies ever done in this field, and she is the one that has come up with that number. Because what we wind up having are students that you have to rule out students that don't have the cognitive ability to read, which is why they don't read, or you have to determine, do they have every capacity, and do they have this difficulty specifically in decoding, reading, writing, and spelling? And so she's followed them over the course of their life. She wanted to know, does this go away? If you have a really bright person, does it just disappear? Is it persistent? And we've learned that it is persistent throughout a lifetime. It does not go away. And even when you get systematic instruction that's explicit, like we do at our school, those students, those are simply tools to help them get where they need to go. But most of these students never read at the same rate or quickness that other students do. And while they are successful and can read, I know Butch Ostelet told me that when he first opened his dealership, he actually had to hire someone to read his contracts for him because it was so difficult. And so we hope that that never has to happen. We hope that by the time we finish with students, it may take them longer, that they can read their own contracts when they open their own businesses. And yeah, did that answer your question?
So they might be, you might be able to read something, but you read at a slower rate and you don't retain it as well. Is that?
Well, I wouldn't say you don't retain it as well either. Yeah, from the data that we're getting at the school, these kids read anywhere from 95 to 98% accuracy after remediation. That's my group for 3 years, which that's very high. But their reading rate is much slower, so they need extra time on that ACT. They need extra time for that state testing so that they aren't mislabeled as students that are doing underperforming where they should be performing. That's a great question, though. Any other questions?
Before we ask for local and private, this board has got to approve a resolution making that request, and that needs to be done probably before the legislative session starts so we can circulate with our delegation. But we have others that are coming up for renewal, so they'll be coming before y'all over the next month or so with resolutions that look like this, and if y'all want to, we can just add them to that list and work it that way.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And we're only one of 2 schools like this in the whole state. So, one of 2 schools like this in the entire state is located in your county. It's in Petal.
Right outside of Hattiesburg.
I was going to say 73 miles, it can't be on the coast because the coast is 70 miles approximately.
Yeah. So you're looking, Mobile is the closest that you can get to going east. We were the closest was Baton Rouge, but there's recently been an extension to a Covington campus. So Covington, Louisiana, Mobile, Alabama, or Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Now, there are other schools that will work with dyslexic students, like the DuBard School for Language Disorders, but they will generally do after-school tutoring services, which are for-profit fees. Those are not free. And there are only 2 that are specifically for dyslexic students. We don't really handle autism or behavior modification or anything like that. We really, if you could think of us as a magnet school for students with dyslexia, that is truly what we are.
Contact information for you guys, name of the nonprofit, things like that?
We can make sure that you have that. Yes. How would you prefer that I give that to you?
You can email it to me.
Okay.
Let me write my email down, so.
And if any of you would like to have lay eyes on this school personally, I'd like to extend an invitation to you for the November the 16th. We have something called the Grateful Gathering. So we'll invite state officials and local officials to come and eat with our kids and talk to our kids and see what we're about. Lay eyes on it and see for yourself what the school's like.
Someone correct me if I'm wrong. I think you need to be in front of the school districts here because they are actually supporting with us school for problem children. And you need to ask them, well, why can they not support schools for dyslexic?
Yeah. So, it's such a difficult and complicated topic, as I know you know all things are. Our public school systems are really inundated, trying to be all things to all people on limited dollars with limited sources for employment. And so they have to put out their fires first, and one of their most pressing issues is their data. So test scores are really important to them. And unfortunately, that's where they have to focus their time. I was recently made aware that there's one school district that spent their entire first 9 weeks doing testing to gather data. Time is not the friend of our children. It can take them up to 3 years to be identified with a specific reading disability within the public school system. And that's about how long it takes us to remediate them. So absolutely, we would love to come alongside our public schools, and we'll be talking to them. I've had multiple superintendents that are very interested in this topic. The legalities or the logistics of trying to create space and time for these particular students and their needs within the school system seems to be the struggle. And the qualified people to take care of them. When you only have 139 in the state and you need more like 4,000, we need about 4,000 to 5,000 therapists in our state. It just creates almost impossible circumstances for school districts until they have the time to build the professionals to do the work.
And as it stands, teachers now, when they're getting their degree in colleges, they are not taught about dyslexia. They're
Correct.
not.
There's no state law that requires.
So it's a very slow-moving ship, and we're, trying to get all the moving parts in place. But we would love for all the public school teachers to have, and there is a law now where they do have to do continuing education, 4 hours of it. Is it every 2 years?
Every 3.
Every 3 years, so it's not a lot.
That
but
passed 2 years ago.
At least there is some introduction to it there, because it's not something that you can just common sense tell you how to work with these kids. You really do have to learn. It's a skill. So.
And Tracy started a summit at the Beau Rivage where she is letting teachers come in and get their continuing education just to learn about dyslexia. The first year she did it, you had 100, how many teachers did you have?
We had about 100.
100 at the Beau Rivage, and it's a lot of local teachers from Jackson County school districts. We had a ton, and those are highest participants was Jackson County school districts.
Yeah, we actually had one entire school, elementary school, that sent all of their teachers because we planned it on their PD day. So, so we're excited about those partnerships in the future, and I'm very hopeful for what this is going to be for our county. It'll take us about 10 years to see the results, which is exciting in the way we move things. But
for second and third in those most imperative years, and then set them up for success, it would help with so many of the problems down the road. The behavioral stuff that the teachers and administrators are dealing with, the juvenile detention centers and the prisons. Like, we want to head that off at the pass early, so we're trying to educate everybody. And we appreciate your time and letting us do that here.
There's nothing better than helping children.
Nope, you can get the email from.
I gave it to
Oh, you did? Okay,
yes,
I'm sorry.
I have it here,
Okay.
and I'll send you an email later today.
Great, thank y'all.
Thank you so much
Thank
for your
y'all.
time.
Oh, thank y'all.
Todd is not here.
Okay, we will defer that To a future meeting?
Yes, he'll be here on the 20th.
Okay. Okay, let's move to item number 11, action items, state and federal.
Just one thing on the state level, we got some good news. A couple of weeks ago, Governor Reeves announced the next round of Restore Act funding on October 19th, and Jackson County will receive another $5.5 million for the Washington Avenue Gateway project that we've been working on. And that comes out of bucket 1, and we'll also receive $2.7 million for the Pascagoula River Blueway project, which that's coming out of bucket 3. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be working on information for the official application for funds to send to Treasury Department, and you'll see that starting to come through the agenda. But good news on 2 projects that we've been working on, and I think we're the only entity that received 2 awards as well.
Keep them buckets full. Let's go. Great. Federal? Okay. All right, let's move to item number 12, supervisor items. Mr. Cumbus?
Yes, sir. I have a resolution accepting the resignation of Jeff Hinton from the Jackson County Planning Commission.
You are making that motion. We need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bossarge. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Morris has none. I have 2, a resolution appointing Derek Etheridge to the Emergency Communication District, E911. This was recommended by the Goshen Police Department, so I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Cumbus. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. My second one is a resolution appointing Belinda Damon to the Jackson George Regional Library System. I make that motion.
Second.
This is a reappointment, by the way. She's currently serving. Who seconded? Mr. Morris. Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Ross?
None.
Mr. Bossarge?
I do 2 things. Joe, will you give us an update on North Tucker and Seaman Road and the Seaman Road Bridge?
Seaman Road Bridge is the last stands, we did part of last week, they're on the dirt work now. I'm thinking by the end of the month, we should have that open. We're gonna start milling and paving on Tucker Road this week. Start kind of tie everything in, looks like most of the concrete work is done now, so hopefully by the 1st or 2nd week of December, that might be done.
So we're thinking this whole traffic issue will be taken care of sometime before Christmas, maybe?
I hope so.
Okay, good deal.
Also, I think we're gonna try to do some progress, finish up Fort Volume 2 in that same time.
All right, good. Hey, Darcy, one question for y'all is that the shooting that happened at St. Andrews yesterday, is any of our cameras in a position that might be able to help the sheriff's office out with that? Okay, good. Will you follow up on that for me and see whatever help we can give to the sheriff's office on that? Okay, thank you.
Okay, we need a motion to go into closed session to determine if we need to have an executive session. Motion by Mr. Cumbus. Seconded by Mr. Morris. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. We are in closed session.